Hey there, as you can hear, I sound sick because I am. I'm dealing with some cold. I don't know where I got it from, but all I know is it sucks. Um, Yesterday I was really sick though, like I had a little small fever and things like that. But now I just have a little bit of sore throat and some cold, and so I'm a little bit stuffed up and throat's itchy a bit, a little bit of chest cold. But I didn't want to let that stop me from making videos because, fuck it. Fuck this cold. It can kiss my ass. So, but I thought about doing something that can make it so I didn't have to speak that much. I don't have to, do that much with. So I thought it'd be a good time to, and I am still going to do my, I'm going to do more videos of the DVD collection videos. But in those, I talk more about like the special features and my thoughts on the film. But with something like this, where I show off my audio cassette collection, I don't have to speak that much. I could just say, "Oh, here's this title, here's that, and here's that." So, so that's what I thought I'd do, just to give you guys something a little bit something new. And as you can see, you got this little new hat here I got. Uh, so it's appropriate to do this. I'm going over the top, turning the hat backwards. Uh, the fuck off, cold. You're going down. All right, okay. Let's start, shall we? We have Don Williams, Greatest Hits, Volume 1. I'm not a big fan of country music, but I do like Don Williams because I think he's actually sings some pretty good songs. I especially like, um, yeah, I don't remember which ones I liked on this album. That's the Facebook notification thing. I forgot to turn it off. Um, but Don Williams, Greatest Hits Volume 1. I also have Don Williams, Best of Volume 2, because these are all great. This is a best of, so Best of Volume 2. It was 50 cents. And this is the one that has um, Mistakes, which is one of my favorite songs that he did. And I also like Lord, I Hope This Day Is Good. So I just think he's a good singer. I think he's a good singer. I'm not a fan of country music for the most part, but I like Don Williams. And this is I Believe in You, Don Williams' album. I first heard him on a 8-track tape that I have. So that's Don Williams. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan soundtrack. Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack. This is a cassette I've had for a long time. Definitely a film I like. I do enjoy this movie. I enjoy the movie and I do enjoy the soundtrack. I think both are pretty underrated. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Southern Accents. Blues Brothers album I've had for a while called Briefcase of Blues. It's a good album. Pau Coatzee, soundtrack by Philip Glass. Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. Good soundtrack, good music. Good tunes on that. Rocky 4, this is a gift that was sent to me. It's a great soundtrack. Another gift that was sent to me, action movie themes, which is pretty interesting because pretty much what it is, it has all these it has We Don't Need Another Hero and things like that, but it's a instrumental version. All of these are instrumental versions of them, so it's like karaoke versions of action movie songs from action movie soundtracks. The Rocketeer, one of my favorite scores by James Horner, may he rest in peace. White Knights, pretty good soundtrack. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, awesome album. So many great songs in that album. Bruce Willis, The Return of Bruno, actually a pretty decent album for the most part. Bruce can actually sing. Nothing in Common. You'll notice there's a common theme. A lot of these are soundtracks, because that's really what I like to collect, is soundtracks. Eddie and the Cruisers, the unreleased tapes. The Goonies, another soundtrack that was sent to me. It's a good soundtrack. I might cough every now and then, because, like I said, I'm still dealing with this stupid cold. But I can make a video like this, because I'm feeling good enough to do something like this at least. Cliffhanger. It's a pretty good. That's a really good soundtrack by Trevor Jones. Streets of Fire, one of my favorite soundtracks. A lot of great songs on that. Good movie too. And that's just from this little container. I have a lot more, so I'm just getting started. I'm just putting them back in the little container here. So yeah, I don't know where I got this cold from, or sickness, or where the hell it is. Maybe I got it from somewhere at the horror convention. By the way, I had a lot of fun at the horror convention. It was really cool. I got some more stuff I'll show you guys that I got from it later, but right now just waiting to do that for another time. Okay, so that's it for that particular set. Now we got the rest of them, which I have in this big box that I got and I brought back from Michigan. And also put some of them that I've had, the soundtracks and the stuff that I've had in another container in this big box. So this is all of them. Rocky, original motion picture score. Yeah, this is a really old soundtrack. What I always thought was pretty weird, funny about this is look at the case, look at the container. Like, how many cassettes have you seen that look like this? Well, this is because this is one of the first cassettes probably out there. This is like from the 70s or something. And then this is even what it looks like. It's really weird looking cassette. So that's Rocky. The Rock. Score by Hans Zimmer. It's a good score. Van Halen album that I don't have a case for. I think it's their debut album. Yeah, it's Van Halen. Self-titled album. Slaughter. I do like this band, Slaughter. This is Stick It To You. This is a good album. Excuse me. Yeah. It has Up All Night on it, which I really like that song. This is Scorpions, The Deadly Sting, the Mercury Years. I love the Scorpions. Just the Scorpions, one of my all-time favorite bands. Here's the Van Halen 1984 classic album. So many great songs on that. Crocus Headhunter, pretty solid album. Crocus is another 80s metal band, hair metal band I like. Yeah, this has got Screaming in the Night. Ready to Burn, which was a duet that Crocus did with Rob Halford from Judas Priest. It's pretty cool. Weird Al Yankovic, Dare to Be Stupid. I'm a big Weird Al fan. This is the only cassette I have of his. If I saw more, I'd probably get him. But it's an okay album. He's done a lot better albums later in the future. Hunt for Red October, one of my all-time favorite scores by Basil Poledouris. One of my favorite movies, too. Scorpions, Animal Magnetism, another great Scorpions album. Navy SEALs soundtrack, another one of my favorite soundtracks. So many great songs on that soundtrack. Pretty underrated movie, underrated soundtrack, too. The Shadow. Pretty good score by Jerry Goldsmith. Good song too, Original Sin by Taylor Dayne. Cobra. Badass movie. Pretty solid soundtrack too. Some good, really cool songs on it. Thief. Great score by Tangerine Dream. Metal Church. The Dark. This is 50 cents. I got it for 50 cents. I haven't listened to this. This is a 1986 album from a metal band I've never heard of called Metal Church, so I'm definitely curious about it. It's an audio cassette head cleaner, just in case, you know. Something I got for free. Scorpions, the Tokyo Tapes. A live album they did where they did a tour in Tokyo. Vision Quest soundtrack. Two of a Kind soundtrack with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Genesis album, Invisible Touch is a good album. Phil Collins. Three Decades of James Bond. This has a bunch of James Bond songs on it. I think they're just shitty covers of them, if I remember correctly. But I don't really know because it's unopened. It's just something my mom had. She gave to me, which I haven't even got around to listening to yet. Axe Nemesis, underrated album from an underrated band. This is the band that did that song that I used for the Iron Eagle tribute called Eagle Flies Alone. That's from this album. My tribute to Doug Masters. Dokken, one of my all-time favorite bands, is a great album. Back for the Attack. That's where I got whenever I said like I'm back for the attack, like if I'm sick or when I got hurt or whatever, and I said I'm back for the attack, that's I was quoting Dokken. Top Gun, one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. My mom had the soundtrack to that. I listened to it so many times that I wore it out, and then she had to buy another one. I also have it on CD. I'm gonna keep my cassette though, because I like the soundtrack that much. Trick or Treat, another great soundtrack. Fun movie too. Flash Gordon, good album by Queen. Legend, pretty solid soundtrack. Has one of my favorite soundtrack songs, Is Your Love Strong Enough, with Brian Ferry on it. Pink Floyd album, A Momentary Lapse of Reason. This one has Learning to Fly, which is one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs. Electric Dreams, pretty good soundtrack. Yeah, okay movie, but a better soundtrack than movie. Death by Temptation, the soundtrack album. Jennifer Rush, who I actually don't mind. She's actually a pretty underrated artist. Pretty good singer. Homeboy, soundtrack to the Mickey Rourke movie. With a score by Eric Clapton. Another Dokken album, Beast from the East. The Breakfast Club soundtrack. Classic, 80s classic. The Crow. Another good soundtrack, another good, for a good movie. Scorpions, another Scorpions greatest hits setup. The Deadly Sting, The Mercury Years. It says Hit Between the Eyes, among other songs on there. Rampage by Ennio Morricone, great soundtrack to a very underrated movie. I mean, great score, really. It's not really a soundtrack, but it pretty much is, though. Crimson Tide, good score by Hans Zimmer. Over the Top, one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. You can see, I got my hat back. I got my Bonio hat backwards. Over the Top, great soundtrack. Even like, you know, the only song I don't like that I do not like on this is the Sappy song, the Sappy Love song. Everything else though I like. Staying Alive, shitty movie, but it's a pretty good soundtrack. The Falcon and the Snowman. Shocker, I have this on CD, but I'm gonna keep the cassette because I love this soundtrack and I love that movie. Speaking of movies and soundtracks I love, Backdraft. One of my all-time favorite scores, one of my all-time favorite movies. I love Backdraft. Another Dokken album, Tooth and Nail, which I also have on cassette now, but I'm gonna keep the. I also have on CD. Here's the cassette that I just dropped, by the way. Here's the cassette, but I have it on CD. But I'm going to keep the cassette because it's Dokken. And I love Dokken, so I'm just going to keep it. Fuck it, why not? Last Action Hero. It's a good album, pretty good movie too. End of Days. Good soundtrack for another really pretty good Arnold movie. Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack, great movie. Great soundtrack as well, a lot of great fun songs on it. I guess I have two of these. I have two Navy Seals albums. Okay, I didn't know I had two, but I guess, alright. Just in case one messes up, I guess. Judas Priest album, Stained Class. Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, great album. Pretty underrated band, too. I mean, they're most well known for Eye of the Tiger, of course, but they've done other songs that are just as good. Say Anything. Tough Turf. Superman the Movie by John Williams. Great score. Great movie. Disorderlies. Against All Odds. About Last Night. Perfect. Pretty shitty movie. Pretty decent soundtrack, actually. Stealing Home. Footloose. April Wine, The Nature of the Beast. April Wine is a band that did songs for the Fright Night soundtrack, so that's why I wanted to check this album out. Not bad, actually. Pretty good. Streets of Fire Again. Just to have a backup just in case type of deal. I just thought this would be a fun video to do, because how many people do videos showing off their audio cassette sound collection, really? Oingo Boingo album, Dead Man's Party. Danny Elfman was the lead singer and did a lot of stuff on it. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles soundtrack, great soundtrack, great movie. Fatal Beauty soundtrack, pretty decent. Although I thought it was Fatal Beauty until I just looked into it. But I'm actually not going to complain because I can't believe this. This is not Fatal Beauty. And this is the first time I noticed that. But it is something else. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not Fatal Beauty with Whoopi Goldberg, which actually has some decent songs on it. But it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I guess isn't that bad. I'm not going to complain. That's a great soundtrack. It's a great score. And now I have Raiders, and I had no idea I had Raiders on cassette. I have Last Crusade on CD. Cat People. Faith No More. The Real Thing, excellent album. This is the one that comes with their song Epic. Yeah, it has 2 extra songs on it. It's a pretty cool looking cassette too, because it's blue. Not very many cassettes look like that. Great album. I love Epic. Epic's one of my favorite songs. I would start singing it right now, but yeah, I can't. Judas Priest, Hellbent for Leather. Styx, Paradise Theater, one of my all-time favorite albums from one of my favorite bands. I love Styx. This is definitely, I would say, my favorite album from them. I like every song on this album. It's so awesome. It's so great. AC/DC, The Razor's Edge. They're a band I like. The Great Outdoors soundtrack. Fun songs on there. Excuse me for, like, not saying much while I'm putting these away. Just don't want to. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. Great album. The song itself, Born in the USA, though, is pretty misunderstood. It's an anti-USA song in a lot of ways. It's not really what a lot of people think it is. Yes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of the shells tour. I actually like some of the songs, I have to admit. I'm a big Turtles fan, I like some of the songs. Hardline, excellent album, great band, extremely underrated. Double Eclipse. This is the album that has the songs that were in um, Rapid Fire with Brandon Lee. So it's got Can't Find My Way on there on this, and I'll Be There. It's got other great songs too, like Life's a Bitch, Rhythm from a Red Car, Taking Me Down. Yeah, I love this album. One of my favorite '90s albums, like 90s rock albums, without a doubt. Album kicks ass. More people should listen to Hardline yeah, more people should listen to Hardline's Double Eclipse. More people should listen to Hardline, period. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey album, fun album, good movie too. Dokken, Breaking the Chains. The Dokken's like first few albums are just classics. Cool Runnings, fun soundtrack, fun movie. A lot of reggae stuff. Explorers, good score. It has that stupid song All Around the World or whatever. Boy Needs to Rock though by Night Ranger I like, but it has that shitty song by Robert Pullman. Vinnie Vincent Invasion. This is the song that has Love Kills on it from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. It's actually a pretty good album all the way around, really. Vinnie Vincent Invasion is pretty underrated. Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. I always thought this was an underrated album. I always liked this album. I really did. Nobody really talks about that album. St. Elmo's Fire soundtrack. Specialist. Honeymoon Suite. Racing After Midnight. I got this because this is the band that did the song for Lethal Weapon. And they have a remix of that song on this album. Back to School soundtrack to the Rodney Dangerfield film. Charlie Sexton. I actually think it was a pretty good album for the most part. He did a song called Beat So Lonely that was on a soundtrack. I don't remember what it was for again. But I actually don't mind this soundtrack. I don't mind. I mean, it's not really a soundtrack. I actually don't mind this guy. He didn't do that much after his debut album though. Transformers the movie. Not the biggest fan of the film. Love the soundtrack though. A lot of great songs on that. Shooting Star, Hang On For Your Life. Another underrated band. I love this band. They did a song for the soundtrack to Up the Creek, where they had, I think it was, yeah, Hang On For Your Life. Definitely like me some Shooting Star. Lindsey Buckingham debut album. I mean, I don't think it's his debut album, but it's definitely a solo album of his. I like Lindsey Buckingham. It's not the album that I really like the most from him, but it's still a decent album. Judas Priest Turbo. I've always liked this album. And my favorite Judas Priest song is Turbo Lover. I'm not kidding. My favorite Judas Priest song is Turbo Lover. I love Judas Priest, but Turbo Lover was the first song I heard from them, and I just really like Turbo Lover. That's just me personally. Rick Springfield, Hard to Hold, decent soundtrack. I've always liked Rick Springfield anyway. Bull Durham, good soundtrack. Doesn't have that song though from the trailer that I've been looking for. I guess it was never even released. Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play, great album. I love me some Twisted Sister. All the Right Moves, underrated album. Pretty underrated movie too. I got one more row to show you guys, and then that's it. I'm just trying to make room for it. So I hope everyone's been having a good time. Everyone's had a good day so far, or a good night, or good week. Bullet Boys, Freak Show, pretty underrated band. A lot of good songs by them, I thought, for the most part. The Pirate movie, yes, I have the soundtrack to the Pirate movie that has a song on it called Pumpin' and Blowin'. Yeah, it is. It's called Pumpin' and Blowin'. Dockin' Under Lock and Key, great album. Metallica, Black album, great album. So many great songs on that album. Definitely, I might probably would say it's my favorite Metallica album. Less Than Zero soundtrack. Some pretty good songs in there. Motley Crue, Theater of Pain. Pretty good album by the Crew. Eddie and the Cruisers. Songs by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. I would probably say I like the soundtrack more than I like the movie. My Stepmother's an Alien soundtrack. Yes, there was a My Stepmother was an Alien soundtrack. I can watch the movie too. Excuse me. Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads tribute album. Amazing album. Such a great album. This is Ozzy's tribute to Randy Rhoads. Song that has a Crazy Train on it, which is a song that was made as a tribute to Randy. Iron Eagle. Kick-ass soundtrack. So many great songs in that. Orion the Hunter, pretty underrated album. This has I think some of the guys from Survivor or some of these other guys are working on who did this. Like, it was a spin-off album. Some pretty good songs too. Yeah, pretty underrated album, Orion the Hunter. I'd probably say So You Ran. I really like that one. Stand Up. Stand Up is an excellent song. That's so great. Stand Up is great. Kiss Destroyer. Pretty awesome Kiss album. A lot of good songs on there. This, which is The Mist by Stephen King in 3D sound. It's an audio tape. That's pretty much what it is. This isn't AC/DC Who Made Who. I wish it was, but no, it's not. It's actually some... Oh, it is actually. The fuck? Oh, that must have been something else that I thought. Oh, it must have been an AC/DC Who Made Who album I got a long time ago that I thought was an AC/DC Who Made Who, but it is. As you can see, Who Made Who? Who Made You? Because it's for the soundtrack to Maximum Overdrive, as you can see on the bottom here. That's pretty much what this album is. It's the soundtrack to Maximum Overdrive, which is awesome. Which is a fucking badass movie. That's so weird. Like, I could have sworn, like, it must have been another version of it I had, and then I, like, got a second one. Yeah, some of these are broken up, but this is the Lost Boys, the original motion picture soundtrack. Great score. A pretty good soundtrack, too. I mean, for Lost Boys, decent score, too. Rocky IV. So I have two versions of that. I'll keep the one that someone sent me that was in better shape. Pat Benatar, great album. I love Pat Benatar. This one has just... Yeah, it's got 3 of my favorite songs on it from her on here. 2 of my favorite songs, anyway, from her. Promises in the Dark, Fire and Ice. 2 of my favorites by her. Precious Time is a good one, too. Fire and Ice is... And Promises in the Dark is a very good ballad. Rock ballad song. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Point Break soundtrack has a really good song by Rat on it called Nobody Rides for Free. Pretty good. The rest of the album's pretty good too. Tom Petty album, big Tom Petty fan. I really like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Full Moon Fever. This has Free Fallin' on it, I Won't Back Down, Running Down a Dream. Zombie Zoo, which is actually my favorite song by Tom Petty, Zombie Zoo. Very underrated song, by the way. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Not really the best movie, but a decent score. I mean, a decent soundtrack. Not really score, but a decent soundtrack. Standout is Bruce Dickinson's Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. Buster, Phil Collins, movie that he's actually starred in as well. Use all the noise, all these things are falling everywhere. I only have 3 more. If I could just get to the one of these third ones. Days of Thunder. Really good soundtrack, actually. A lot of good songs on that. Pretty good movie, too. Propolis by Giorgio Moroder. Great soundtrack. I actually like this version of Metropolis. A lot of great songs on this. Probably say my favorites are Cage of Freedom by John Anderson and Blood from a Stone by Cycle 5. Or Cycle V. Whatever you call it. And then the last one, which is pretty fitting, Batman. The original motion picture score by Danny Elfman. One of my all-time favorite scores of all time. And also one of the first few films I remember watching. In fact, it is the first film I watched. Not that I remember. I don't remember it. I don't remember it being the first movie I ever watched because I was just a newborn, pretty much, when my mom took me to see it when I was at the drive-in in 1989, because I was born in 1989. But it technically is the first movie I ever saw. So I don't remember it, but thanks to my mom, I have that knowledge now, though, that it was the first movie that I probably ever did actually see. So it's pretty fitting that I'd end this video with the soundtrack for that film. But anyway, as I'm drowning your ears out with all of these cassettes being put back into this box, I'm trying to speak as loud as I can without fucking up my throat. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for some stuff a little bit later. I'm going to post part 1 of a playthrough of Garfield's Scary Scavenger Hunt 2. And maybe a new review sometime. Maybe you might record a new review tomorrow sometime. Because if I can do something like this, I could probably get away with doing a review. But it would probably be a pretty short one. Because I probably wouldn't be able to go that in depth. Because, you know, don't really have tons and tons of energy. But, anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. See ya.